Okay guys, good morning and welcome to today's virtual webinar with Tuqnia and Dell Technologies. My name is Mark Forker and I'm the editor of Computer News Middle East, and I'm delighted to be afforded the opportunity to moderate today's session, which is entitled Moving Ahead of Challenges with Transformation. Digital transformation has been a prevalent term within the IT ecosystem for the last number of years. However, as a direct consequence of the COVID-19 pandemic, we've seen a huge acceleration in digital transformation projects, especially here in the Middle East region. We've also witnessed an exponential rise in the number of enterprises moving towards public cloud, whilst there has also been a lot of dialogue and discussion regarding the benefits of a hybrid approach to your cloud services and the importance of modernising your data center in this digital era, which has also been called the fourth industrial revolution. Today's webinar is going to extensively examine data center modernization and transformation, the unique capabilities of VMware's Cloud Foundation hybrid cloud platform, and how businesses can harness and unlock the potential of their unstructured data. It promises to be an extremely engaging, informative, and insightful webinar that will cover a diverse range of talking points. Before I give you all a brief run through of today's agenda, I just want to remind all of our attendees to use the chat function to submit any questions they may have throughout the session. Once you've submitted your questions, I'll share them at the end of each of the speakers' presentations. So please feel free to ask questions in order to make this virtual webinar an interactive session for all. So please don't be shy. I can assure you that all our speakers are very, very nice guys. And we'll welcome all your questions. So just to give you a brief run through of the agenda, we're going to have a brief introduction from Fishi Sankaran. He's the sales manager at Tuqnia Abu Dhabi, and Gijo Jacob, sales manager at Tuqnia Dubai, who will outline the business relationship between the company and Dell Technologies. We'll then hear from Danny El Khoury. He's the senior channel sales manager, at Dell Technologies, who will provide us with a short insight into the importance of a data-driven world. And he will then conduct a presentation called Accelerating Data Center Transformation, Build or Buy. Our next presentation will then be conducted by Ibrahim Alothman. He's the HCI Solutions Engineer at VMware, and his presentation is entitled VCF on Rail, Your Turnkey Private Cloud. Then last but by no means least, our final presentation will be delivered by Louis Hellaby, Senior Partner Sales Specialist at Dell EMC, and his session is entitled Unlock the Potential of Your Unstructured Data. So it promises to be a great session. So without further ado, let's begin this morning's webinar, and I'm now going to hand you over to Fishi Sankaran and Gijo Jacob from Tuqnia to kickstart proceedings. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Good morning, everyone. As Mark said, my name is Vishwanath. I head the Tuqnia sales in Abu Dhabi, and I have my counterpart, Gijo, heading the sales in Dubai. To start with a safety note, wear your masks, maintain social distancing, and make sure that hope everyone is staying safe. Just a quick introduction of what Tuqnia is all about. And just a quick timeline of our journey. It has never been so exciting. We started our journey with Dell from 2008, when Dell started to become so agile, started acquiring a lot of storage products like Component, Equal Logic, to name a few. But in this course of 8 years, they did close to 18 acquisitions, and Tuqnia kept abreast with all the technologies. And in 2016, when a major shift came, when Dell EMC came together, and it was very good for us. And then on, we never looked back, and we grew with Dell EMC together. And even when we were with Dell and when we were with Dell EMC, we had maintained the top tier partnership as Dell Preferred and Dell Titanium partnership till date, which means we have the required pre-sales, sales, and the technical team aligned to what our Dell Technologies is asking us to do. Just a glance of what Tuqnia is all about. Established in 2004, our operations are in UAE, both Dubai and Abu Dhabi, as I mentioned. We have a 200+ workforce. We are part of Bin Hamuda Group, and the turnover is close to 160 million with 300+ active clients. This is an important slide for us. Though we continue to do our regular business in the infrastructure solutions, which is our bread and butter, and we cover the end-to-end portfolio of Dell EMC, starting from endpoints till the high-end hyper-converged, converged, or the high-end storages. But as the topic says today, we are moving towards a digital economy or a digital transformation. And within us, we have also aligned towards all the 5 pillars which you see in the screen, which is security, mobility, cloud, big data, and IoT. While as of now, we see business strongly picking up in security and mobility, we still try to educate the customers in cloud, big data, and IoT, where we see a lot of potential in the future, which is yet to come and which is yet unlocked. And if you see in the security, we have various things: perimeter security, application security, single sign-on, data center security, to name a few, and we go on. And we are also seeing, due to the current pandemic, a lot of solutions coming on mobility part of it: desktop virtualization, remote solutions for people to work from home. How do we address the security? So we are catered for all those things along with Dell Technologies. And the best part is all the infrastructure that is being developed and engineered by Dell EMC, are having a very good interaction with VMware, or very good integration with VMware, sorry, so that, it makes very easy for the customers, to align and then work together. This gives a glance of Tuqnia vendor ecosystem. We work with Dell Technologies, where we have Dell EMC on the infrastructure and Dell networking on the networking from VirtuStream on the cloud. And VMware, of course, being a part of Dell Technologies, we have a strong relationship with them, and then we get together. And with Altron on the data center part of it. And security, as I mentioned, we have Fortinet, Palo Alto, RSA, take it forward. Some of the industries that we cover: hospitality, maritime, healthcare, education, banking, oil and gas, construction. We see a lot of inquiries coming in from healthcare and education as of now. So we also educate them on the home working solutions as of now to take it forward. Some of our customers, both in Dubai and Abu Dhabi put together, some of the major customers, and we have a lot, as I said, 300 plus clients. Some of the majority customers are here: Abu Dhabi Commercial Bank, Dubai Municipality, Dubai Silicon Oasis. In education, we have Khalifa University, Higher Colleges of Technology, New York University. We have done various solutions across the Dell EMC portfolio, and we will be more than happy to share with you all one-on-one or offline what solutions we have given to them, so that it can be of a reference to you as a customers, and then we can take it forward with the discussions. As I said before, in the earlier side, we cover all these major pillars, but of course now artificial intelligence is also picking up, and we are also internally aligned towards AI, and we will be coming up with shortly a lot of presentations and solutions revolving around AI to all our customers. We say here in a nutshell, we are a one-stop company. We have a proven track record with a good financial stability, and all our solutions that we work with Dell EMC will be ordered with Dell EMC directly, and then there will be no distributors involved, to make sure that you get the right products on time and proper support from Dell EMC and Tuqnia together. Jijo, you would like to add something? That's it from me, and I will leave it to Mark to take it forward from there. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Vishy. I am sure you have covered most of the things that we intend to inform the customers. So that's it from me as well. Over to Mark.
Mark, if you could. Thank you, Mark. We are done.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for that. I'm just going to hand you back over now to Danny El-Khoury. Danny is the Senior Channel Sales Manager at Dell Technologies, and he's going to give us a presentation on data-driven industry. So Danny, without further ado, I'll hand you over.
Yes, so good morning, everyone, and it's a great pleasure to be here with you today. I'm going to be taking you through a brief, journey, right? I know the time is a little bit conscious of time as well. I'd like to start maybe quickly by, by going a little bit into, into Dell Technologies, right? Yeah, just let me go back and take you a little bit through, what's the purpose of the company. And I always like to start with this slide, because it's very important as we're really looking at the technology today and, trying to see where we need to do investments, how we need to do investments, how it touches as well, our businesses. We have to make sure that, whatever we're doing today as well, we're doing it for a purpose, right? And definitely the whole objective of Dell Technologies and of Michael Dell today is to see how we can really drive and develop technologies that can drive human progress. And this is always very important whenever we're looking, whenever we're trying to, throughout our research and development, throughout our journey today, how can we make sure as well that, we can help you, we can partner with our customers today, to try to take them through that journey, looking from the edge to the core to the cloud today. And this is very important. And at the end of the day, it's very critical as well to understand, okay, how Dell Technologies, is evolving, and what is our plan as well, from a vision perspective for the next 10 years. Because as I said, it's not always about technology. It's always, there's an objective. We want to make it, we want to help our customers, throughout different areas. And there are 3 pillars, part of our vision, the 2030 vision, to drive, to drive sustainability in the world, to see how we can as well, looking at recycling, looking at all, the initiatives to drive, a better world, if I can say, all right? And of course, how we can help our people, how can we help, the globe as well, looking at how can we cultivate, drive inclusion, how can we ensure as well, we work around that. And last but not least, the 3rd pillar is how can technology, at the end of the day, help us transform our life, right? And this is very critical. So without further ado, it's also very important as well to look at technology at the end of the day and to look a little bit at what's happening around us, okay? Because really technology is shaping, is changing, is making that a huge change in our lives today. If you look at the economies, how they are moving, how we're going into a digital economy today, and how, looking at IDC today, how can, how the GDPs are being moving into a digital driven approaches today, where we are seeing almost 60% of the GDP digitized by 2022. And this is, I believe this is just the beginning. And, every day we're seeing, the exponentiated growth in that digital world today. However, at the other side as well, we're seeing a huge challenge because of the growth of data and rapid growth of data. And every day we're looking at new growth potential in terms of data, and we're expectation, by over the next 4 to 5 years of over 163 zettabytes. And I believe if I'm going to be in 5 years talking about, giving some reflections about those, from 20 to 25, I'm sure we're probably going to be way beyond this figure, because everything's revolving around data. And today, if you are not a data-driven organization and you're not taking real value of your data today, whether it is, in the data center, in the cloud, and living in a multi-cloud world, and you're not probably really powered by data, this is so for us, we believe that every organization needs to be a digital organization powered by data and running in a multi-cloud. And of course, at the nirvana of that, right? When I look at that technology, how can that digital organization move into that journey? And how can we really enable that digital transformation? And when I look at that, I always look at 2 pillars. I look at data, which is the core and heart of my business today, right? Of course, how can I top the data with all the, the software engineering, the capabilities, the cloud native developments today that will continue driving that competitive edge in the market today. And of course, without it, we're not going to be able to live. Let's face it. All right. So by going one step back, we believe that IT transformation enables the digital. So we start looking at our traditional IT, our traditional workloads today. How are they going to be sustainable? How are they going to live in that world today? How can we move into a modern approach of dealing with data today? And this is very critical. And let me see. So if I look a little bit at the foundations of the IT transformation today, okay, and we always look at 3 pillars. First, we have to look at the infrastructure. And this is at the heart of everything. We cannot, no matter how we go, no matter what we do, we have to look at technology, which is the enabler for that transformation today. Of course, when you are looking at modern infrastructure, it's very important. And that modern technology, you have to look at areas, looking at security, looking at a cloud-enabled infrastructure. Really easy. That's going to give us really the experience, the cloud experience in a modern world today. And that's powered by a lot of, artificial intelligence, by machine learning, all the predictive and proactive supports coming around it. Not only that, we have to look as well at the experience. So how can I drive from that infrastructure, okay, in that modern infrastructure, how can I drive a consistent experience? And how can I drive and getting in the operations? How can I streamline? How can I build a platform today from a hardware and software today that can take me into the next step? And that will make me really start in a very solid approach today, moving into a multi-cloud discussion, right? And last but not least, it's all about how can we drive as well a modern service delivery approach to that. I make sure that I'm taking the right value of data in my business today. Everything's being driven by data, okay? And if you really are building on that for the future, then you guarantee that you're going to be there for the next few years. Funnily enough, if I look a little bit at a study, okay, because not all things are taken for granted, right? And let's agree with that. So there are always barriers, there are always challenging, let's say, challenges in that through that transformation journey. And so many organizations today are facing them. It started a few years back. Some of them are, will probably not be there in the next few years if they don't realize those challenges, all right? So looking at a study that was carried out by Dell Technologies for over 4,000 executives today, in the last year, I look a little bit at 91%, okay, we got out with 91% of the customers of the top executives, okay, highlighting the challenges that they have within their organizations. And so if I want to, pinpoint at least 4 of them and that are quite essential and strategic today, the first one, the biggest challenge is time, right? So today, how can we help our customers really? How can we help you, okay, jumping into that journey very fast, right? How can we try to drive as well value from time today? How can we look at the acceleration? Because at the end of the day, we are living in a world that has, unfortunately, a huge amount in terms of sense of urgency. Everything needs to happen yesterday, if not the day before, or if not the last month. So today, this is a very critical milestone in the, through that journey. Another one as well, another big challenge as well that was highlighted is this. So we cannot ignore, we as Salesforce, we as individuals and technologists today cannot jump into the next era, into this decade, really without looking at new skills basically that potentially are not out in the market. All right. So for us, it's a constant challenge. All right, to to drive education, to look at the new opportunities or the new jobs that will really accelerate and that will really justify that that business in the future. And of course, the always, the never-ending story of funds. Okay, how can we make sure that we're taking the advantage of that? How can we really? We always need to do more with less. Right? We need to maintain our operation. We need, we cannot compromise. There are always increasing demands for the business. So how can we make sure that we're taking advantage, of the technologies that are available today to really to support us in the future? And of course, now we look at the additional challenges coming from the overall risk of not having the proper roadmap and the proper vision and strategy behind it to ensure we are building, a safe, a secure environment that will as well de-risk us from business. And as you can see today, a lot of the businesses are no longer relying on some, big businesses are just software generated, right? There's no hardware, there's nothing behind it, it's just all built on software. So how can we make sure that we can build the right frameworks and support an ecosystem, security ecosystem behind it to make it work? And if you look at those organizations that have really addressed those challenges, all right, you can see that if you really drive around these challenges and try really to take advantage of that, you will see that you're going to get a lot of benefits moving into a data-driven organization, because it is helping. Definitely, if you look at the outcome of that, all of those organizations that made it into this journey of transformation, were able to achieve almost 2 times profitability, with almost 3 times the reduction in operational cost and an increase of 30% in revenue. So it's all about, it's an optimization journey today, right? Where we look at whatever value assets we have, or whatever assets we have in the organization that usually drive value in the our business. People looking, at their capabilities, looking at how can we drive, value from the intellectual property, looking at maybe some software, in-house software development that can help us as well, drive some competitive edge today, looking at the infrastructure and the optimization in operations, be it from a supply chain perspective, for example. But we all agree that we can no longer live without data that's coming, as the new asset, okay, that can drive a huge value in the organization, all right? And this is going to unlock huge opportunities for us. So we need to be ready, okay, to data, right? And we should be very careful as well that it's not the fact that, data is very critical at the end of the day. Data cannot be, looking at the cloud directly, right? So we always look at how can I look at data first in my strategy? If I'm looking on if I want to build a roadmap and I want to build a vision as well for my enterprise, I always have to think about data, because the data is going to be, across living all over the place, and it's going to be my most valuable asset, because at the end of the day, cloud is it's an operating model, right? So we see as well some new business applications that are coming, from that data, looking at, different digital experiences, looking at artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, and, what's powering all of this? It's data. So if I look at at the end of the day, I will have to live having that data in a traditional environment, or in a modern business environment. I have to have that platform that will support me through that journey, something that, a platform that will support me to take my traditional workloads and take my next generation application, next generation workloads today. So we will see those coexisting together at the end of the day. However, we have to look, if they are going to coexist together, there are 2 things, there are 2 approaches, and we believe there are always going to be 2 approaches into dealing with data. So 2 things: either you will have the opportunity to build, okay, or you have an opportunity to buy. So we believe acceleration of data center today, the data center transformation, that will be built around these two pillars. So the most important, as you are looking into building an infrastructure versus buying an infrastructure, is to have a consistent experience and consistent operational path between both of them. So we at Dell Technologies, we give you the choice, right? This is where we are really proud not to talk about only a point solution or only a product approach, but rather giving you the flexibility of an umbrella portfolio today that will take you through a journey, whether you want to do it on your own, you have your, your three-tier operating model, you want to build your server, storage, network infrastructure today on best of breed components in the market today and leveraging our leading storage platform today. This is an opportunity, definitely. However, we believe as well that many customers want to jump into a consumption-based approach. So they are looking to have more of a software-defined or more of an automated platform today that's going to take them through that journey in a fast approach. So irrespective whether you have your own tools and approach into dealing with the infrastructure, you have built your own in-house maybe support models, you can definitely go with the build approach, or you can jump directly into start consuming. If I want to take it more into into building your infrastructure today, Dell EMC provides you with the #1 primary storage portfolio. Whether you're looking at level, or whether you're looking at mid-range or high-end today, you have the opportunity to leverage any of this platform. And I want just to touch a little bit, for the sake of time, just briefly around the portfolio, where today we have our leading platform, our PowerMax. Whether you're looking for a real powerful setup or a trusted platform that has, that was there for over 15, 20 years in the market today, over the past 15 years, looking at, the best in terms of technology, best in terms of, scalability, the best in terms of resiliency. Whether you're looking as well, when I'm looking at PowerMax as well, I'm looking at, I call it the #1 standard in, it delivers the #1 standard in replication and in availability at the end of the day. Okay, so this is very critical, whether you're looking for 7 nines, over 7 nines availability today with sub-microsecond latency for your mission critical workloads, for your consolidation today. If you're looking for a platform that has open system connectivity, it is unified, it supports IBM, it supports mainframe, it's an end-to-end NVMe platform, right? So that definitely drives the best efficiencies today as well, with a 3 to 5 data reduction ratio. So also, it's not about delivering a next generation platform, delivering the best platform today. It's delivering the best platform for the right at the right footprint. We're not looking at building those, filling up those racks with with capacity. We need to make sure also, as an organization today, to be smart about delivering a platform that has the latest, that supports the latest in terms of compression and deduplication, and the supports as well in the latest in terms of the fastest disk technologies today, looking at storage class memory, for example, and you're going to hear it more and more over time. We call them Intel Optane, all right? And that gives you as well the scalability up to 16 controllers. If you're not looking, if the requirements are not really into that front, we can definitely look at our PowerStore, okay? PowerStore is a mid-range data-centric one that's intelligent, that's adaptable, that's an NVMe end-to-end, as well as going to support your mission-critical workloads, that give you the scalability up to 8 nodes today, that gives you the highest level of efficiencies. If I look at, for example, data reduction. So always, when I'm looking at an all-flash technology, I cannot just look at that. I have to look as well on how can the all-flash technology give me efficiencies by leveraging, compression and deduplication. And what you're getting outside the box on day one, a 4-to-1 data reduction guarantee from Dell Technology, right? So this is very important, as we don't ask you for any assessment. We're not, okay? It's just there's the best practices document. You can look at it, and then we can get on day one a commitment for a year on data reduction capabilities. And it supports as well storage class memory as a persistent disk tier, and it supports SSD. Okay. Not only this, but PowerStore is also the platform that's built for the next decade. And I can say today that this is the most advanced modern storage appliance in the market today, because it is a programmable infrastructure. It is a container-based infrastructure. It supports apps on, which is so unique today, which allows you to run your data-intensive workloads right on the PowerStore. So you can have it as a data-centric platform, and you can run your data-centric VMs as well on top of the PowerStore. So this is so unique today. If you don't want to have a separate infrastructure, separate storage infrastructure, or a storage and SAN infrastructure today. All right. And not only this, we give you a commitment. Okay, we can give you a guarantee on the platform that's going to take you for the next 3 to 5 years within any time upgrade program. All right. What does this mean? It means less headache for you. It means peace of mind in terms of scalability, whether you want to scale up or scale out, or you want to jump into a next generation product. We can give you part of our anytime upgrade. Okay, the guarantee to jump into any next generation product after 6 months. You don't have to wait for 3 years to upgrade maybe the platform, okay, to go into a bigger model, or to go into a next generation product, okay, or to scale out with a specific, with a special discount part of the anytime upgrade program. So this is a great opportunity where Dell Technologies today give you the choice to scale out, okay, and being able to add multiple generations and multiple power envelopes of a PowerStore into the same architecture, and really smartly manage your infrastructure today, leveraging machine learning technologies, and smart resource planning. So very important. All right, PowerStore is a key Dell Technologies offering today. If you're not looking really for for the all-flash bells and whistles, you're not really looking for, you're not concerned about, you're concerned about high IOPS, definitely, okay. However, today you're looking for a concise platform that can support a unified workload environments, looking at, block, files, VMware, with all the software inclusive today, as well, an NVMe ready support with a dual active controller. Definitely Unity XT is going to be the great platform for us today, which is our best seller. It is a platform that's cloud enabled as well. You can get as well a 3-to-1 data reduction guarantee part of this platform. All right, and of course, if you are really looking to have it as part of a cloud discussion today, this is also a great opportunity that can take you, almost up to 16 petabytes. You can populate up to 16 petabytes through in one single box, and could be installed in, as few as 25 minutes today. If not, PowerMax, or so we've seen it, we've looked at the requirements, we've looked at the, what are the expectations from the platform. You're looking for just something to get up and running with that. You can definitely jump into our PowerVault, which is our entry level and smart platform today that can give you that flexibility. It starts, less than, I can say less than $10,000 as small, and you can just upgrade and add it as a DAS or as a SAN platform today. All right, and it is as easy to set up as 15 minutes. So not only the platform, it's also important to look at what you can, what is the ecosystem today, that will support you in your business, whether you're looking at, smart or intelligent snapshot capabilities like AppSync. You're looking for a continuous or active data center leveraging VPlex today. All right, or if you're looking for a platform that will support integration with DevOps frameworks today, whether we're looking at containers, we're looking at, at Kubernetes, VROs today. This is the platform that's, that supports that. And not only this, of course, we are topping this with a smart monitoring and analytics, right? We look at Cloud IQ, which comes as part of the platform. It's a great tool, okay, and it's a great opportunity for you to see, to see in a very simple dashboard today. A lot of colors, a lot of nice graphs. It gives you the health, the health of your platform today across all our storage portfolio, and it gives you remediation activities even for the future. This is very important. And of course, if I don't want to, not looking at the SAN and SAN connectivity and resiliency, looking at the, fabric switches, looking at, multipathing, So if you really want to be in that space, there's no, it's a great opportunity. This is where, where Dell Technologies can help you build, that consistent infrastructure. However, if you really want to jump into a fast track, we call, how can we fast track the modernization journey? How can I look at consuming my technology today? I don't want to be building those, looking at the brick and mortar approach. I don't, I want something that's really up and running in hours. I don't want to say in days, okay, and that can support me in my business journey. I want something that's gonna really focus on business outcome. I want me as a data center manager, or as an operation manager, or as a CXO, or okay, I'm concerned about really maximizing the opportunity. I'm keen to build or retain a certain my competitive edge from a technology perspective. So in that space, we have a huge opportunity. All right, Dell Technologies has been leading for over 8 years in that segment, looking at our converged infrastructure. All right, be it VxBlock or Power1. All right, or looking at the hyper-converged infrastructure today, which is a completely software-defined. I look a little bit on my software-defined portfolio. This is why we care about giving you the option today. It's not one solution that fits all. It's not one size that fits all. So whether you're looking for a platform, to build on a software-defined platform, looking at eyeing VMware today, who's the number one in that segment, and looking at our offering, we have VxRail, right? You can look at a VxRail, a rack of integrated racks, or you can look at starting small, leveraging all of these components together. And this is the only co-engineered hyper-converged product in the market today with VMware. All right, and definitely we can elaborate further on that. If you're not, if you are looking a little bit at a multi-hypervisor, you want to run multi-hypervisors at the same time, you want to run VMware, you want to run Hyper-V, you want to run OpenStack, you want to run a bare metal workload, PowerFlex would be the best platform for you today to leverage that. And definitely looking at our, at Microsoft, and Dell Technologies is the largest partner for Microsoft today. Definitely you can run with your, with the Azure Stack Hub, or you can look at Microsoft Azure nodes today if you're looking to. Quickly, VxRail is our platform when we're looking at VMware environments that delivers, the best integration in the market today, giving you a single experience across your hardware and software. So looking at your server and software, and this is where we are driving a lot of stickiness, a lot of integration, a lot of R&D, because we believe you're going to build your future on a platform, right? And that's going to be software and not be only software, right? And very important as well, looking at how can we have a single click upgrades, if I can say, looking at, how can I give you a platform that can start small today, okay, as small as 2 or 3 nodes, and that can give you the scalability into a hybrid cloud, and not even a hybrid cloud as well, that can live in a multi-cloud world today, right? Leveraging VMware. Okay, so this is a great opportunity. This is a perfect platform, and I can say, as I always say, this is, it's a data center. You can have the VMware software-defined data center foundation building blocks in a VxRail today without having to worry about, did I miss this? Should I add that? And of course, as you are starting looking at orchestration, looking at automation, over 200 steps of automation as well in, in your software and hardware today, from a lifecycle management, everything's packed into that platform with data protection in mind. So for the future, looking for, for replication solution, definitely you can leverage our leading, offering, which is Recover Point. So for some of you who've used Recover Point as an appliance, also Recover Point as well comes as part of the package today at no extra cost. So you have the flexibility, you have the choice to build any configuration, to have any workloads, any virtualized workloads today, irrespective whether you're looking for, for an entry level, for an entry cloud today. If you want to look today, we're talking about Kubernetes. So Kubernetes comes by default with vSphere, so that gives you a start on day one with VxRail. If you're looking, for extreme edge, we just announced as well a new platform. If you really want to throw it in the sea or in, up in the mountain or somewhere deep in the ocean, you are concerned about heat, you're concerned about, sometimes altitude, vibration, all of these, we have the platform for you. Whether you're looking as well for, advanced analytics, looking at AI, machine learning, you want to do some rendering, advanced stuff, looking at, we've as well announced the AMD with up to 64 cores on this platform today. And of course, supporting, the in-memory databases, leveraging Intel Optane, for example, right? As a persistent disk or persistent memory in the VxRail today. So looking at as well quad, when I spoke about rendering, of course, you look at graphics capabilities, right? So today, this is a platform that's continuously driving you, that's going to continuously help you through that transformation journey and consolidating everything under one mission-critical platform today called VxRail. Not only this, just a brief, today you can start, as I said earlier, you can start as small as 3 or 4 nodes and you can scale, you can build, okay, you can leverage all of these software-defined elements in your environment today, and there's no showstopper here. You can look at including if you want to go with VCF today on day one, irrespective of the version, and you are concerned about lifecycle management. And I believe, dear gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, it's very important as you are planning your future to invest in something that's really solid, mature, tested, proven, like VxRail and VMware today in the environment. Of course, as I highlighted earlier, PowerFlex comes, if you're looking for a multi-hypervisor environment, you're looking for concurrency in running that. And I really want to stress the concurrency in this environment. PowerFlex will provide you the best in terms of capabilities, in terms of scalability, whether you're looking, to host multiple strategies in your, looking at, multiple deployment approaches today in your data center, whether you want to look at it as an disaggregated layer, two-tier layer, whether you want to do your storage and your compute separately, you can do that. If you want to deal with it as a single HCI layer, okay, this is also, can definitely do that, right? And of course, if you're looking, to do any combination in a mixed workload and mixed environment today, this is perfectly well supported in PowerFlex. Okay, so flexibility. Okay, you're not going to get the flexibility that this platform can offer you today. And in terms of scalability, you can scale. This is a real enterprise-grade platform that can take you almost over 100 nodes and thousands of nodes in one single cluster. The best in converged infrastructure and in the best in consumption today, you have our converged infrastructure platform. We started our legacy a few years back with VxBlock, which is a combination with Cisco on the compute and EMC on the storage side. This is a platform that's here to stay. We're continuing, we're innovating around the VxBlock, but we also want to take an opportunity for you, our customers. If you are looking to build a full experience around Dell Technologies today, you can look at PowerOne, that was released previously with PowerMax, but we just released it as well with Unity XT, which is our mid-range offering today that brings a converged infrastructure into a mid-market, into into price conscious environments, if I want to be correct in this space. And definitely we will be integrating in the next few days or months as well PowerStore. So you will have a huge opportunity, okay, to really look at how can I have a converged infrastructure that's focused around business outcomes. So this is a results-oriented platform or an outcome-oriented platform because of the inherited automation that's built around VMware within that platform. And this is what's so unique, that when I'm no longer talking about the product, I'm talking today about how can I give you an experience on day one, okay? Leveraging those best of breeds components and integrating them, engineering them together as one product, okay? Factory installed, configured, installed, shipped as one product, supported as one product, and maintained from a life cycle perspective as one product. You know, the overarching elements into this experience is our future-proof loyalty program. Okay, so very important to look at when you are considering Dell Technologies, who's going to help you, who committed on day one, you know, to help a human progress, to really drive innovation in our customers, in your environments, is to see how strong and how capable and how committed is Dell Technologies in those environments, by giving you as well an edge, free of charge edge, that's called the Future Proof Loyalty Program. And this is our card into your environment, where we're giving you a 3-year customer satisfaction guarantee. Whether you're talking, you know, irrespective of our storage offering today, you will get a 3-year satisfaction guarantee. It means that if Dell Technologies has delivered or has given you a product or has offered a product that's not delivering as per the, you know, the available information, you have the full right to raise the flag to say this product is not what you committed to me, but the product saying is not delivering. So for us, that 3-year satisfaction, that 3-year guarantee is a commitment from Dell Technologies. It's not from Danny or anyone in the company. It's, you know, it's another proof, it's another stamp from the organization to tell you you are with the right partner who's going to be here to stay, right? In terms of, you know, the investments you're doing, in terms of supportability, in terms of having an all-inclusive software as part of the solution today. How can we as well, on top of that, give you a platform that's future-ready, right? It is future-ready and it's future-proof, not only future-ready. Okay, so how can I give you like anytime upgrade commitments, part of the program as well? How can I ensure that the minute you are sitting and living on a Dell Technologies modern storage platform today, you don't have to deal with any migration anymore? How can we give you all of these tools natively, whether you're doing you're refreshing from a previous model, previous generation, or an older generation of Dell or EMC into the next generation appliance? So all of these constitute, you know, an assurance for you, and of course that gives you more satisfaction and guarantee as you are, you know, navigating through that journey into that transformation. Say, listen, Anna, I can sleep peacefully. I don't have to worry about, you know, my infrastructure. I'm building on a solid mission critical platform today that can address any workload at any point in time, and I can do this peacefully. So with this, gentlemen, I would like to thank you. I reached maybe the end of my session. However, I will be available for any further discussion, further in-depth talk around any of the topics I've highlighted here. Thank you again, and back to you, Mark.
Thanks, Danny. That was a very detailed and you know, a really superb presentation, Danny. So I really appreciate that. Obviously, as I said, you went into a lot of detail. At the beginning of your presentation, you talked about the pillars of IT transformation, and we've got a question from one of our attendees, Danny, who has asked, how do you align these 3 pillars with business strategy?
So very important today, as we're looking at, you know, I will be very I will go into the basics in this case, okay? And we want definitely to look to elaborate and to review a little bit the challenges and understand a little bit what are the business strategies for our customers today, okay? whether you're looking, into let's say one of those issues could be one of those strategies, or could be, how can I roll out a new application? I'm looking to have, a platform that will support me, for example, to be cloud native, support cloud native development, all right? And a platform that supports Kubernetes or cloud native workloads today. So I need to look at a platform that's really going to help me on day one take advantage of all of these elements, okay, and all of these frameworks that could be directly supported on this platform that will help me accelerate, the development, for example, okay? I don't want to be spending, if I look at storage specifically, for example, I don't want to be spending 3 or 4 days. If I want to roll out a new service, for example, a billing application or a banking application, I need to roll out, for example, an ATM service. For that, I need, let's say, just for example, a certain capacity, okay? I don't want to be chasing people to do, to get my capacity or my data available to do the testing. But, I could lose days here. So I can automatically take advantage of, some built-in tools and connectors, okay, or plugins today that will help me really view my storage, for example, as if it's a cloud provisioning, giving it a cloud experience. So this is just one model. If I look at a hyper-converged or a converged platform today, we're taking away all of the integration, the hardware integration work today, where we will look again, we will assess your requirements, we will do kind of a value assessment, and we will understand what are your key objectives, okay? Are you looking at performance? Are you looking at speed? Are you looking at the customer experience? How can we translate that customer experience into SLAs, into latency? So how can we plug these technical KPIs into your business KPIs? So this is how we can, this is how we usually do this, and we can start with an assessment and then capture all of these requirements and then plug them into a technical platform to see how we can give you how can we answer your business objectives.
Brilliant, Danny, thanks for that, and a very detailed response, just like your presentation. But before I let you go, Danny, we've got one more question, so I'm going to ask you to stay online here. We've got a question from David, who has asked, with little universal appetite for CapEx, where are Dell and the FSaaS space offering in terms of OpEx solutions?
So I think we are bringing our, I think we are expecting to hear something in the next few months from an OpEx perspective, from a Dell Technologies, from a Dell Financial Services perspective. Currently, we are working with our ecosystem of partners that can deliver this capability today. Okay, so if you are looking for this, let us come on the table. Let's see how we can help you through that journey. And of course we can reach an arrangement. We've done already a few things, OpEx, different models with our partners and to our customers. So yes, we can do it today, and we're more than happy to jump into a discussion.
Brilliant, Danny. Thanks a million for that, Danny. As I say, thanks a million for your presentation and for your answers to the 2 questions from our attendees. So thanks a million. So without further ado now, guys, we're going to head on to our second presentation of today. So I'd like to invite Ibrahim Allotman. He's the HCI Solutions Engineer at VMware, and he's going to talk about VCF on Rail, your turnkey private cloud. So Ibrahim, take it from here. Thanks.
Hi, thanks, Mark. Just share here. All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for the introduction, Mark. So my name is Ibrahim Allotman. I'm the HCI Solution Engineer from VMware, covering the METNA region as part of Dell Synergy team. And today I'll be talking about VMware Cloud Foundation on VxRail, your own turnkey private cloud. It might be a bit misleading to say private cloud because we'll know in a few slides. But this is going to be a bit more technical, and hopefully I can get in time because I saw a request in the chat to be a bit more technical. So hopefully this complies with what you need. So technology is changing every industry, right? There's businesses disrupting every single industry in the market, and the economy is going wholly digital, especially with the situation that the world is in right now. Nowadays, businesses are more competitive when it comes to how they use their data and their own software. So we're seeing that success means delivering those digital services to your customers that are powered by data, running in a multi-cloud world, because you need to be able to be efficient with the way you consume the digital economy. So cloud is not a destination, it's an operating model. There are laws of physics, laws of economics, and laws of land that govern the way that you go towards this operating model. So laws of physics, like the physics of the actual dimensions where you can actually host a cloud. The laws of economics, how much you're willing to pay to actually go towards this operating model, and the laws of the land. So we're talking about privacy laws, such as GDPR in the European Union, and more data privacy laws within the Middle East. So if you're familiar with the ones here in Saudi, where you can't actually get data outside the country. So we're seeing around 92% of businesses have cloud strategies that include a private cloud, and 83% value consistency of infrastructure across the data center to the cloud. Because if you build your own private cloud, usually if you want to expand towards public cloud, you're going to have an issue with the consistency and the management between both. And this is why the future is not public or private, it's both. It's a combination of both. So a hybrid operating model for your cloud. So let's talk about Dell Technologies Cloud. It's about two leaders, Dell and VMware, coming up with one cloud strategy. So you're able to run your existing applications, your business critical applications, whether they're SAP HANA, whether they're highly intensive applications, and also your cloud native applications like your microservices, your containers, all of them, you'll be able to run them on consistent infrastructure for both your VMs and your containers, as well as having a consistent operations on top of that. So the idea is to have a model where you can run your VMs and containers across, whether it's private or public, and be able to manage them the same way. And this is essentially the mythical one pane of glass that everyone tries to come up with, but this is as close as you can get because of how different things or technologies are when implemented in the public cloud and in the private cloud. And we'll understand a bit how we can deliver that actually. So with VMware Cloud Foundation, just to put it in simple words, it's a stack of VMware software, whether it's hosted within your own premises or hosted in a service provider or is built in public cloud by a vendor like, for instance, Amazon, someone from public global names. And the idea of VMware Cloud Foundation is that it's a fully integrated infrastructure for hybrid cloud. It is simple. So with the ease of cloud operating model, it's like building your own infrastructure as a service with a click of a button, or a platform as a service, or a container as a service. And it is consistent across hybrid clouds, because we have VMware Cloud Foundation deployed in service provider data centers, where it's the exact same thing that you would be able to get to your own data center. And you're able to extend it across in case you want to expand, shrink whenever you want to. So this is a way to give you scalability and elasticity across your cloud operating model. And of course, it's secure. How do we do that? Well, of course, we comply with all the security requirements, such as for the financial industry and healthcare industry, as well as the fact that the VMware Cloud Foundation stack already has intrinsic products within it that provide that security, such as microsegmentation with our software-defined networking solution, NSX, and the ability to have micro firewalls all across your VMs, being able to do granular policy and encryption on your data. So all of this is possible throughout the entire stack. And of course, it needs to be consumable, because you're not building a cloud because it's fun. You're building a cloud to provide it to your application teams, to provide it to your IT operator teams, in order to actually deliver those business goals and business value that is required from you as for instance, an IT operator or the IT, let's say, structure within the organization. So there are several consumption offerings when it comes to how you can actually consume VMware Cloud Foundation. You can either get it as a turnkey product on top of the VxRail hyper-converged infrastructure, Just a quick word about HCI in case you don't know what HCI is. HCI is a software-defined solution where you have both your server, your compute, and your storage within the same rack unit. And the idea is that you can elastically scale out and scale up as much as you want. And with the VxRail, which is an appliance based on VMware vSAN, you're able to build up your entire cloud using a turnkey appliance. Or you have the flexibility of using best-of-breed storage, compute, and networking with validated designs. How is that? Well, we have an option with vSAN-ready nodes and also using traditional storage in a way. We'll get to that point in a few slides. But you have the flexibility of choosing your own hardware for the cloud. And these encompass most of the things that Danny talked about as well. Or you can have a fully managed one, which is a data center as a service, currently only available in the US, but we might see availability come into the region. And the idea is that it's a VCF basically on Dell EMC that is wholly managed by VMware and Dell, or Dell Technologies as a whole. And this is actually a very neat thing. If you've seen VMworld a while back, you might have seen the demonstration of the dashboard where you can actually order a new cluster whenever you're running out and send it over to a site and you have an engineer come with. That is the fully managed option that we're talking about here, but it's still not yet available in the region. Please check with your own account executive or with the team to see if it's available. And then at the end, we have partner clouds. So say you built your private cloud using this turnkey setup or a flexible setup, let's say, and you're trying to expand. You want to expand, for instance, for a few months when you have really high traffic coming into your business. Well, you can do that using partner clouds. We have the global names such as Amazon, Microsoft, and Google, where they host the VCF stack over at their data centers, or you can even use their own native cloud, but using our own operations dashboard where you can automate all of the workflows from there. So you kind of have a consistent operations all across. Or one of our 4200 cloud partners. And that's basically someone like Etisalat, someone like Duo, some of these service providers in Dubai, in the UAE who host VCF in their own data centers. And you can basically kind of subscribe to that, get a bunch of it, and migrate your VMs if you want, and having a consistent operation across them. And then when you're done, of course, you can scale back. So let's talk more in depth about what makes VCF or VMware Cloud Foundation the hybrid cloud or the operational hub for your hybrid cloud. So if we want to talk about building any cloud, and this goes across not just for VCF, we're talking academic here about the concept of cloud, you need four main components, right? The first one is you need compute because you need to run applications on CPU and RAM. Second, you need storage. So you need data to be hosted somewhere. Third, you need network. You need to be able to communicate with the application. You need the application to communicate with other components that require that application to run. And then the fourth, which is very important, is the cloud management. You need to be able to manage all of that. And having that rely on let's say, traditional hardware to build your cloud is very, very difficult to maintain. And this is why the concept of cloud is about having a software-defined data center first in order to be able to deliver that. So when it comes to the compute, we deliver that with vSphere. If you're already familiar with it, vSphere is the leading hypervisor in the industry for several reasons, because of how feature-rich it is, and specifically now because we can host Kubernetes directly on vSphere. Plus, you need the storage to be software-defined with vSAN, where you're able to expand easily, scale out and scale up, and be able to put storage policies that are defined granularly per VM or even per VMDK. So you're able to be as efficient as possible with the consumption of your resources. And then the third, we have NSX with our networking, where you're able to deliver VPN services, layer 2 tunneling, micro segmentation, of course, VXLAN extension across the racks, so you don't have to really go into the telnet CLI of your switch and configure all of those complex running configs that are required to run, like for instance, a spine leaf architecture or something like that, because it gets so complex, and when the business needs a change, you need to change it instantly. And on top of that, we have our cloud management. So with vRealize Suite, you're able to have consistent management across whether it's private, running in your on-premise, whether it's running in a service provider data center, for instance, like we mentioned with Salat and Duo, or whether it's running in the public cloud, in native AWS, native Azure. With the cloud management suite, you're able to automate all of that, consume it in a consistent manner, allowing you and your team to spend more time on what is important to the business rather than what is just a hurdle or overhead that you have to overcome every couple of weeks, right? And then we have to make sure about one thing which is very important when you're building a cloud. You need to make sure that everything is updated. And you need to make sure that everything works together, because we've seen the situations where something is not compatible with another component and suddenly everything goes down. So this is where VxRail comes in. This is the unique integration between VCF and VxRail. Because VCF has already an integrated part in it, and it's at the bottom here called our software-defined data center manager. And the SDDC manager takes care of the software components. So it takes care of the upper components such as NSX, vSAN, vSphere, vRealize, of course with vRealize having its own component that integrates with SDDC. But basically SDDC manager takes care of all of the software when it's running on its own. But when it's running with VxRail, there's a much deeper integration with the hardware, where the entire lifecycle management or the automation happens almost with one click of a button. We're able to upgrade the software stack and as well as the hardware stack down to the NIC, the HBA level, at the storage controller level, and all the way up to the cloud management suite. We're able to upgrade this entire stack all together, right? And this is where VxRail with VCF has this unique feature. So it's a co-engineered with VMware. It has very unique integrations, as well as having a single vendor support. So in order to support all of VCF, you just call Dell, right? VCF on VxRail, that will support across the entire stack. Of course, you still have the channel to get support with VMware, but there's a much more collaboration between the two companies, and this is what. So let me jump actually to the next. All right, so let's talk about the integration overview. Hopefully I don't go over time, but these have been discussed by Danny in the previous presentation a lot. I'll try not to delve too deep into them, but the idea is that there are a lot of features that allow VxRail to be a really truly high enterprise and best of breed solution, such as the way that it's fully integrated with vCenter, and of course with VCF it's integrated with SDDC. There are up to 72 or even more engineers building upgrade bundles for VxRail. So when an update comes in from VMware or from Dell for the hardware or from the component vendors, well, what happens is we don't just send it to you and you're like, oh, we'll give you, like a free-for-all, just okay, download whatever and install whatever. We go and test all of those components together, and we make sure that they work together, and then we release that bundle to you, where you can just click, download the bundle, apply or schedule the update, and it just applies all of the patches together. And of course, some other features, such as ecosystems connectors, so you're able to kind of run a software layer on top of vSAN. vSAN as a technology delivers file services and block level services, but it doesn't deliver object. And with the ecosystem connectors, you're able to actually put object storage on top of it, which is a tight integration and neat integration with the Dell and of course some other software as well. So this is really a very consistent platform for your own cloud. So let's talk about the unique benefits of VxRail. We talked about this. We talked about how upgrades are very easy when it comes to VxRail, and what I mean, the biggest issue, even back in my days when I used to work in really hands-on data center back in my previous job, there was a lot of overburdening for the IT staff. When we need to upgrade, we researched a lot. We made sure that things work together. We made sure we didn't break the application. There was a lot of disruption to the business. Sometimes, someone misses something, and then there's downtime, and we don't want that. Sometimes, and we have issues with budget efficiencies, because if you're spending hours and hours, right, and these are billable hours, trying to work on a problem that can be easily fixed on a solution that could essentially be a lot more cost effective than you spending those hours on that problem, then that is what VxRail can deliver for you. We foster operational freedom, rapid and automated full stack single click patching and updating. We unlock innovation so you can maintain workload mobility and continuity between refreshes and upgrades. So if you bought VxRail 2 years ago and you're buying a new one and you want to be able to have them together, you're able to, because VxRail can have mixed node upgrades. You can set specific parameters to make sure that the different nodes can work together, and of course evolves predictably. So we make sure that the bundle that you get and the updates that you get are verified, and that you can have a single point of support throughout the entire upgrade process. So with lifecycle management, there are value tiers. If you have orchestration for the upgrade, of course it's nice, but the higher you go, the better. You need to be able to have configuration stability, so you make sure that you're in the right state, and you can actually upgrade in a very very consolidated manner. And of course, at the end, you need to be able to have decision support. So this is where things like the analytics engine comes in with VxRail, as well as REST APIs. Of course, VxRail fosters operational freedom. If you're running your own scripts, running REST APIs, or you're running Ansible or some of the more automation tools, you're able to integrate, of course, with VxRail. So when it comes to the integration between the two, we talked about this. It's the ability to upgrade both the hardware and the software at the same time, using verified bundles, so you make sure you don't break your cloud. So with VMware Cloud Foundation VxRail, you're going to have four components that you will interact with. First, at the bottom, which is an optional thing, we have our integration with Dell EMC Power Switch. So you're able to automate the top of rack switches, and even extend to maybe having a spine leaf architecture. But this is an option that's available if you want a turnkey rack. So you can just get an entire rack with networking switches in them, and we just configure the VLANs at the top of rack switches, and you don't have to do a lot of the manual work. And then above that, we have VxRail Manager, where it manages the hardware and gets the information of the hardware. But of course, VxRail Manager is just something that's running, and it can show up within vCenter. It actually shows up within vCenter. You can no longer access it directly, because all of the information is available through vCenter. And of course, its integration with SDDC Manager. You'll see here we have something called Cloud Builder. And this is what we use for our day zero implementation or deployment. And Cloud Builder is basically a workflow tool that takes the information you give it. You get an Excel sheet, you fill up. These are the IPs, this is the subnets that I want, these are the CIDR masks or whatever, and then you plug them into the Cloud Builder, and it goes in and builds your entire VMware Cloud Foundation, and suddenly, voila, you have your own private cloud. So let's talk about the solution benefits. We have software-defined agility, of course, because it's a software-defined data center. I'll talk about a few of them because I want to really cover the more technical things, as well as single vendor support and elastic scale cloud operating model. So with software agility, the idea is that we want you to be able to define policies that really match the business requirements. So it's easier for you to define those policies. We're talking security, we're talking storage, we're talking resource allocation, we're talking about management access, role-based access. All of these can be defined within a policy that can be applied into the cloud itself, and you don't have to go really through all of the intricate parts to really do any changes in case the business wants a change. We need to go to market now with this new application. Well, it's a couple of clicks, you make a blueprint, you implement it, and you're done. And of course, our services and Dell services can help you even with envisioning those blueprints that would be required for your business to run as efficiently as possible on top of this cloud. And of course, it's a modern hybrid cloud platform. You're able to have it managed by you, VCF on VxRail, or maybe it's on VMware Cloud on Dell EMC that we talked about in a bit, or VMware Cloud on AWS, or even a partner managed. So VMware Cloud Provider Program, which, as we said, we have about 4,200 partners within that program. And of course, you have this consistent operating model all across the cloud with management, compute, storage, and networking being consistent. So let's talk more in depth about how VCF works. So VCF is made of domains. We'll talk about in a few slides about what a domain is, but basically, within VMware Cloud Foundation, you can find workload domains that is basically, if I had to sum it in a few words, is a resource pool, right? Where you have your networking, your software-defined networking, your software-defined storage, and your software-defined compute, all allocated within a workload domain that can be set for specific applications. For instance, if you want SQL, Postgres, and Hadoop in a single workload domain, then they can be defined there. Policies can be associated with this workload domain that allow specific people access, that allow only specific resources. You can take out resources, you can add resources to that workload domain, add servers, plug out servers if you want to, add them to other setups. You can also have different mixes of servers. So you can have some servers with GPUs, others with no GPUs. And then the ones with GPUs, you can define them for VDI or maybe machine learning, as well as the fact that you can run container workloads. So you can either have vSphere with Kubernetes. So this is Kubernetes running natively on the hypervisor. And it's a really, really cool thing where we can deliver very fast performance for containers because we use a stripped down kernel where we only take the things required for a container runtime, and we get rid of all of the other stuffs, because when you're running a container or a pod in a bare metal server, you're running Linux, and Linux has extra stuff on top of it, or maybe some other operating system, but it has extra stuff within it. But when it comes to vSphere Kubernetes, we're actually stripping down all of the other extra stuff that's not required for the containers, and you can run the containers directly on the hypervisor, and with that, you can deliver high performance. And of course, VCF is not to the point that Danny talked about. All those storage options can also be connected to VCF. If you have you've already invested in traditional storage, then you can also expand and connect it to VCF. And I'll touch a bit on what is possible, but basically you can, here there's something called the management domain. And when it comes to the management domain, it has to run on vSAN. And a management domain can be its own vSphere cluster, right? And it will be running some specific VMs, like a SDDC manager, your DNS, for instance, some extra third-party management if you want to. But basically, the management domain is where you host all of those management components. And this has to be based on vSAN. But when it comes to these workload domains here at the bottom, the other ones, they don't have to be vSAN. They can be based on fiber channel storage or iSCSI or vSAN, of course. There are other options, but there are caveats to each. So if you want a deeper dive, please reach out so we can talk deeper into what your kind of integration that you want. So the idea is that you have an elastic scale cloud operating model. You're able to add in components, add in servers, remove servers, allocate them to different people, different requirements. For instance, sometimes the business starts focusing on a specific team where they want to develop an application in that team specifically. So you might start allocating more resources towards that team, pulling it from a different project that's not focused currently. And when it comes to full stack automation, of course, this slide should visualize what you might be looking at when you're upgrading the entire thing, but it's essentially a single orchestration from within SDDC Manager, because we integrate both the VxRail Manager and SDDC Manager. So SDDC Manager in this specific setup will be taking care of VRLI Suite, NSX, and vCenter. And then VxRail Manager will be taking over the HCI software, which is vSAN and ASXi, and the hardware, of course, of VxRail. So how does it look when it comes to data center operation? For day zero, you'll be using the Cloud Builder. It will bring up the cloud entirety, the full stack of VCF on top of VxRail. And of course, it's policy-based configuration, so it's more tailored to your own deployment. And then for day two, you can do it through the SDDC Manager or VxRail Manager that's integrated within vCenter and SDDC Manager. So you'll be able to create, delete, add, expand, patch, do all of that through the SDDC Manager. So it's kind of your single pane of glass, but of course it's a mythical. So let's talk about VMware Cloud Foundation with vSphere Kubernetes. We mentioned a bit about containers, but why? Why vSphere with Kubernetes? You've invested already in a virtual host. And now your developers want a pod, a Kubernetes pod. Now that you're going to have to go invest again in the bare metal, or you create VMs for them on top of a virtualized infrastructure, which they don't really like because they don't have as much control over it. And usually you don't know what they're doing inside that VM, so they might be breaching some security policies, but you don't know about it. So first, we need to be able to improve the economics of running containers. So you'll be able to consolidate Kubernetes clusters and VM workloads on vSphere platform with VCF. Second, we want to control at scale, securely allocate full stack resources within a namespace to developers. So a namespace, if for those of you who are familiar with the virtual infrastructure, it's basically a resource pool where you can set policies on it, access policies, resource policies. So, and then your developer can access that specific namespace for themselves, and you'll be able to see what they're doing within that namespace. And of course, increased velocity. So if you're able to essentially have what people are calling now the DevOps model, so you have this developer and operations collaboration, and this is what is called basically DevOps. And with DevOps, you'll be able to increase velocity because it's easier for your developer to access their resources to start testing out and developing. It's easier for you to make sure that they're compliant with the security policies, to make sure that they don't take way too much resources than they require, and of course to make sure that they get the performance and the resources that they require. So let's talk about security. Security is more than just firewalls. You need to be able to secure from several facets of the technology, and this is what we're familiar with, even with the DCI, for instance, with financial services. So with VCF, you're able to have security across the entire stack. With networking, we have microsegmentation, VPN. With compute, we have VM level encryption, encrypted vMotion, and others. Of course, with storage, you have data at rest encryption, cluster level key management. With management, you have something like vSphere Trust Authority, where you can make sure that all of your ASXi hosts are compliant with a best practice host, or having a container registry services, or governance and compliance, making sure that everything works properly. Of course, this is for management. So agility through automation and self-service. With the management that we talked about in the components about the cloud, you're able to create blueprints and portals for your developers, for your consumers. Basically, if you're running IT in your business, you have internal customers, right? And they're consuming this IT. And you'll be able to have with VCF this enhanced governance, self-service flexibility for users, so they don't really have to go through those tickets that take 6 hours to get resolved because there's already a huge backlog and you need to comply with everyone's request. But with this, you're able to automate most of those requests away and have people request them by themselves, and the workflow will be automated, and you don't have to really spend that much time trying to get them their required resources. And eventually you want to get to the point where you have continuous integration, continuous delivery integration with your own developers. And this is where we can really help out with VCF. So when it comes to buying VxRail specifically, so Cloud Foundation VxRail infrastructure delivery can be done through two different options. You can either buy nodes by themselves, and you take care of the networking and the racks everything, or you can get a fully integrated rack. This is what we talked about in the beginning, where the networking is included, and we configure the VLANs quickly through the integration with Dell EMC power switches. And let's talk about the support. So with Dell support, with Pro support, they're able to support the entire stack, from the hardware all the way up to VCF components. And of course, you also still have access to VMware for much higher priority cases, but the idea is that most cases are resolved by Pro support. And of course, you can also have Pro support Plus, where you have more personalized assessment, a technology services manager, and maybe a more eligible third-party software to be included in the support. So now the more technical parts, and hopefully I'm going to stay within time for this, but this is for the more technical of the audience. So let's talk about what a domain is. A domain is a vCenter, let's say. So a domain in its highest level is a vCenter, and then under that we have several clusters or even a single cluster. But the idea is that you segregate a domain for several different functions. So it's purpose-built SDDC environment. It has dedicated VX Rails. It has dedicated vCenter. It has a shared or dedicated NSXT instance. So NSXT is kind of your layer 3 boundary, or layer 2, where you have your tunneling and everything done through it, and your microservices, micro segmentation, your distributed firewalls are all through NSXT, and you can have a dedicated instance or a shared one. You can configure multiple vSphere clusters per workload domain. There are automated provisioning on top of the workload domain, so you can automatically create, expand, and delete independently from each workload domain, and you can enable vSphere with Kubernetes on top of that workload domain. Of course, at the highest level, we talked about it being a vCenter. So you can have up to 15 workload domains, and that's a maximum of 15 vCenters. And you have to really know that the idea is that with vCenter, you don't have to license all the 15 of them. You license one, and then it's replicated across to the 15, so you don't have to really relicense again. So what kind of workload domains do we have inside VCF? First, we have the management domain, and it's dedicated NSXT-backed VxRail cluster used to hold the Cloud Foundation management software. And that's what we talked about: SDDC manager, your vCenters, your NSXT manager. And then we have the virtual infrastructure workload domain, which hosts your workloads, basically your business critical workloads. And it's a dedicated cluster of VxRails with its own vCenter, and you can optionally enable vSphere with Kubernetes on top of it and do day 2 operations. And this is, of course, as you see here on the right, the kind of dashboard that you'll see with the resource allocation for specific workload domain built on top of vSAN, where you can see the consumption of it. So let's talk about the management domain. This is brought up in the beginning. In the bring up process, it needs a minimum of 4 nodes for high availability, of course, built using only through vSAN. So this can't be based on ICE, SCSI, or Fiber Channel. And it runs the components that we talked about: the VxRail manager, the vCenter, the NSXT manager, and the vRealize suite, and of course the vCenter for the virtual infrastructure workload domains. And of course, for the full view of what it might look like in a single deployment, we have the management here set up, where we have it segregated for different boundaries for the workload domains. Of course, as you can see here, we have several NSX managers for the networking, because you might have a different workload domain being managed by a different team. That's okay. They can access their own NSX manager and configure their own networking if they want to. And here you can have a workload domain that has several clusters, 2 clusters. One is running containers, and the other is running VMs, which in current applications nowadays, you still need VMs, even though you can't go full container, because sometimes a database will require to run on a VM and can be certified to run on a container. So you might need something like that, like a workload domain that contains both of them. And maybe they share the same NSX edge, so you don't have to deploy it twice. And of course, here at the bottom, you can have a more split workload domain, all running VMs. But here for a specific BDI, for instance, then you can actually run it specifically for BDI. So let's talk about deployment options. How can you deploy VMware Cloud Foundation? We have two options. The first one is a consolidated VCF architecture. And the idea is to have both management and virtual infrastructure within the same workload domain. So you're not splitting the management and the VI, you're all having them in a mixed workload domain. And this is usually for people starting up, or maybe if you have a small requirement, then you can do the consolidated infrastructure. And we run with a minimum of 7 nodes with the consolidated architecture, actually, sorry, with 4 nodes. And when it comes to the other architecture, which is the standard one, is where you split the management and the virtual infrastructure. And you have a minimum of, you need a minimum of 7 nodes, of course, 4 for the management and 3 for the virtual infrastructure. And we recommend the 4th one for high availability, of course. So here's a look of the consolidated infrastructure. You would have the management pool, resource pool running on top of the VX Rails, or if they're running on vSAN ready nodes. And then you have the workload resource pool on top of that running as well on top of the nodes. And then here at the standard architecture, of course, you have the split. You see the different vSAN data stores, different VxRail clusters, and you can do the separation that we talked about just in a bit. And of course, you can have the management workload domain, and then up to 15 workload domains on top of that. So you can, including the management. So you're able to run up to a total of 14 virtual infrastructure plus the management, that is 15. And each will have vCenter instances in linked mode. In case you want to do some RBAC, we have that kind of ability. So we support vSAN storage only as principal for the management domain, and for the others, you can either use iSCSI or Fiber Channel or vSAN. But we do not stop you from connecting a fiber channel storage to one of these virtual infrastructure workload domains, because the VxRail has HBAs. You can buy them with the HBAs for fiber channel, or maybe iSCSI over IP, and you'll be able to connect these workload domains to them and consume that existing storage or traditional storage. Let's talk about multi-site. So if you have another site or a DR that you want to integrate, what you can do is, so if you have we have several deployments. The first one is if it's a single site, says SCC manager at the top, vCenters for each workload domain. You have maybe a stretch deployment. You have something, a different room, a different data center within the same campus. Then you can do a stretch cluster for vSAN, and you can still have it within the same site of VCF. But then you might have an option where you need a DR outside of the city, outside of the country. Well, we can support you with that. You have a VCF instance built in your own data center, and then the other data center as well, whether it's partner owned, whether it's on the cloud, and then you can federate between the two and manage both of them from a single SDDC instance. So you kind of have that, again, single pane of glass across all of your data centers across the world. So let's talk a bit about vSphere with Kubernetes. Hopefully I have enough time. I'm running out actually. So I'll go quickly over it. We have currently the new Tanzo Modern Apps Framework. And the idea is that with Tanzo, if you've heard of Pivotal previously, it is kind of moved over to Tanzo in the addition of several other components. And the idea of the framework is to help you build, run, and manage your modern applications in this current evolving industry. So when it comes to VMware Cloud Foundation and VxRail with Tanzo, the idea is to have developers and IT operators work on the same infrastructure at the same time without conflicting with each other and allowing each other to work seamlessly and without incurring or overstepping into each other's territories. And the idea is that we basically have a Kubernetes API on top of the vSphere cluster. So your developer can use their own kubectl and just go and deploy containers on a vSphere cluster, no issues. And you can also have a way of running upstream Kubernetes on top of vSphere, which is using Tanzu Kubernetes Grid Service, or you can use the vSphere pod service, which is native on top of vSphere. And of course, all the other services integrate as well with it. vSAN has persistent volumes that provides mount points for your containers. And of course, we have a registry service as well included as a network service with NSX and Kafka. So basically, we talked about the namespaces, but the idea is that the IT operator creates namespaces. They put memory, CPU, storage for Kubernetes, and they put policies, and then the developer runs workload consistently on top of them using the Kubernetes APIs. And the idea is that you can create an upstream compliant Kubernetes cluster with dedicated resource pools using Tanzu Kubernetes grid, or you can run Kubernetes directly on the ESXi host. So let's bring it all together, and this I will close this my session with this. So first, if you're building your setup, you start with HCI, vSphere, vSAN, the HCI software, or in a nutshell, VxRail. And then on top of that, you start building your cloud with NSX and the SDDC manager, with vSphere with Kubernetes, or maybe VDI and Horizon. And then you have the consistent operations on top of that with the vRealize suite. And then, of course, you have the much more extension of vRealize suite with VRA and vRealize Business. And at the end, you have your VMware Cloud or VCPP, which is VCF, basically hosted in a service provider location that you can rent out. And with that, I would end my presentation. So just a few points to leave with you. There's deep VCF integration when it comes to VxRail. It's the simplest path to your hybrid cloud deployment, and it is future-proof for next-gen VMware Cloud Tech, which is basically VCF, and we're keeping it to innovate on top of that. So please reach out for a deep dive if you're interested in any of this. And thank you.
Thanks, Ibrahim.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for that. It was a great presentation, and similar to Danny, you went into great detail, and I think you articulated your main points very effectively. So look, we've actually got one question from our attendees, and it's related to security. Obviously, yeah. It's a hot topic, and it's been sort of enhanced over the last couple of months due to COVID-19. But he has asked, what assurances will be given to enterprises on security, and what will happen if there's a breach on the platform? So I think they're speaking about the VMware Cloud platform here.
All right, so we have with our VRealize suite specifically, we have ways to govern the entire infrastructure, and with NSX you have an ability to actually make sure that everything is secure, nothing is out of compliance, nothing is out of policy. So you have a way to track those, but in case there's a breach out of a bug or something like that has been patched already or has been sent out, well, we make sure to let the customers know that there's been a patch out, and we make sure that even at the beginning of the deployment, if your governance or security is the main point for you, we build those policies for you. We make sure those stay consistent and monitored all across. And of course, you have the ability to see everything across the entire infrastructure. So, you know, being reached by a security breach is not something that mythical goal of wanting the impenetrable, but it's not possible. So it will. The idea is that you stay as secure as possible. So, and that's what we'll be able to do. That's all.
Okay, Ibrahim, thanks a million. I'd like to ask you a few more questions, but we're just running a little bit over. But thanks a million for your presentation. I really enjoyed it, and I'm sure our attendees did as well. So thanks a million, Ibrahim. Now, last but certainly by no means least, Luai Helaby, Senior Partner Sales Specialist at Dell EMC, is the next and final presentation we've got, and he's going to talk about unlocking the potential of your unstructured data. So Luai, we'll let you crack on here. Thanks, Lou.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Ibrahim, for a great presentation. Can you hear me well, Mark?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly.
Perfect. So as they say, when you squeeze a lemon, you will get a lemon juice. And if you squeeze an orange, you will get an orange juice. I hope that when we all get squeezed through this tough period, we will get the best out of us. So I hope everybody stays safe and well. And sure, we're going to go through this together successfully. So my name is Luai Helaby. I'm the Unstructured Data Partner Sales Specialist. And today I'm going to take you through the unstructured data and how we can unlock the potential of the unstructured data. Though it's tough to be the last to present, however, I'm so glad that Danny and Ibrahim have covered most of the points. So I'll try to take you through this quick agenda, which is basically what is the data growth and the challenges. And I'm just going to focus from the unstructured data point of view. Also, I'm going to take you through a strategy about how the UDS is really tackling this unstructured data in one slide. Then a quick journey around what is the ISLON and what is the unique feature and value proposition that we offer. And definitely, I would like to take two last points about what is the latest announcement that we have announced actually a month ago, and you might have heard about it, the PowerScale. Also, deep focus on the Cloud IQ, Data IQ. I know Danny have highlighted this quickly on his slides, but I'll take you a little bit into little details on that. And if I'm lucky with my slides and time, I will take you through the vertical use cases. As they say, the best technology means nothing if it doesn't serve a purpose. So I would like to see how we really can serve the purpose to serve you, our value customer, and how the unstructured data from Dell Technology can help in that dimension. All right, so data growth and the challenges that we always face. Definitely the data, as Danny have highlighted today, there's a 44 zettabyte of a data in this world. And the analysts predict that this data will not only double or triple, maybe it's gonna quadruple in the coming 4 to 5 years. And that's growth of data with the challenges when it comes to the tight budget, it comes with the ties of increasing market demand. That puts us in a very critical and tough situation as an IT provider to our organizations. Not only that, how we can really avoid what we call silos and data segregation. And throughout the journey of the ISO, I'm going to really touch base on that one quickly just to show where this is coming from and how is really challenging our IT infrastructure. Protection is a big thing, and how we protect the data, whether it's at rest or it's on the drive or it's on the fly and so on and so forth. And last but not least, as the technology is evolving, migration and hardware development is unavoidable. So how we as the unstructured data really overcome that kind of a challenge, and how last is that how we cope up with the latest emerging technology, whether it's an analytics, AI, and IoT. And our value partner Tuqnia is taking that as one of their focus pillars. So this is really comes handy how we can really joint effort together and how we can serve our value customer into those vertical that we have spoken about. All right. So if you look at all the different types of workloads today, and allow me to go a little bit into the ground. I know Brahim took us to the cloud, so I'll bring you back to ground. And how is the different workloads that we see, whether starting from the traditional block structured workloads, then moving to the unstructured, and I'm talking about the unstructured, something like the home directory, file share, archiving, towards to the big workloads. It's a vertical purpose workloads, manufacturing, life science, genome sequencing, automotive industry, finance, and the emerging workloads, which is really it's one of the topic that keeps us as a CIOs and C-level being aware of those, and what is the initiative that our organization would like to take to those emerging verticals or use cases to be really ahead of time, especially with the tough market circumstances. So looking at all these different workloads, they can be categorized into two types of data, structured and unstructured. And allow me just to simplify those two terms. Structured, anything that we can store in rows and columns, like the database and what have you. And mainly the rest could be unstructured, mainly the file, the stream, the images, the videos. All these are unstructured data. And the really important finding is that out of that 44 zettabyte or the 163 expected zettabyte in the coming couple of years, 80% of that data is unstructured. And this is true whether we are a small and medium or an enterprise or even a multinational corporate. We have a lot of unstructured data. And normally this data starts from as simple as a file share, moving all the way to the IoT, AI, and artificial intelligence, and so on and so forth. And this is really a challenge because this is the big bulk of our data. And this kind of data is really with a different behavior, different nature, and how as an unstructured data solution, we really help you to address these kind of challenges. So the unstructured data, the 80% of the unstructured data is classified into three main categories: file, object, and stream. And as a Dell Technology UDS department, we address this with three specific products to address these three different unstructured data workloads. So for the object, we have what we call elastic cloud storage, and this is something goes for all the object workload, mobile workloads, a private cloud offering, an on-prem, off-prem, and so on and so forth. The file, we address it what we call with the Isilon. You might have heard about this term. And now we are really rebranding that brand with what you call a PowerScale. So I'm going to take you through that journey on the Isilon, and then I'm going to show what is the new when we talk about the PowerScale. Last but not least, the stream, which is basically analyzing the data on the fly. And this is becoming more and more demand and a market need. We used to call it a Project Nautilus. However, early this year, we announced what we call Streaming Data Platform, which is alive today, and it's available. It's a software-defined solution where we can help you to analyze the data on the fly on top of our hardware, whether it's a Isilon, PowerScale, or ECS. However, today, and for the sake of this session, we are focusing into the unstructured part, which is the Isilon. But before going to the Isilon, let me show you the end-to-end strategy, so you understand the bigger picture and how we as a Dell Technology and the unstructured data offering, how we really address this kind of market requirements. So we have two big building blocks: the Isilon, which is rebranded as a PowerScale, or the ECS. Isilon is made for anything around file, scale out file requirement. ECS around the object. And what do we serve? We serve the requirements from the business. So the file, the object, and stream, as I explained in the previous slide. And we also can stretch this requirement, whether the requirement it's on the edge, on the core, or on the cloud. Which means today, as an organization, you could have your remote branches, whether you are a bank or a hospital or even manufacturing. You could have a smaller remote branches where you have an unstructured data, and then you have your core, your data center, and then this is where also you have a huge amount of unstructured data. And definitely the cloud, as explained beautifully by Ibrahim in the slides, how you'd like to extend to the cloud. And we really make sure that our story always homogenized and consistent, and how we can really offer that from edge to core to cloud. However, we understand that this cannot work without having two strong single pane of a glass view where we can do the cloud IQ and data IQ. And this is what I'm going to highlight towards the end of my slides. So from unstructured data, it's not a new technology from our Dell Technology. It's been there more than 20 years. And we have been the leader by a Gartner Magic Quadrant for the 4 years in consecutive. So we have been the leader when it comes to since 2016, 17, 18, and 2019. And this report was released in September last year. Hopefully with the new releases and the new technologies that we're bringing to the market, we're still gonna lead that pack. And this Gartner Magic Quadrant explained two dimensions where we have a clear vision of go-to-market and how we can serve our value customer and how we are executing in this vision on a vertical axis. And this is what makes us a leading on this dimension. Also, we have won an Emmy Award. This shows how much we are really involved into the media and entertainment business. And in the next slide, I believe I'm going to show you the history of the Isilon and how we started as a media and entertainment offering platform. And from there, the story began. So this slide or this session going to focus on the Isilon or the PowerScale. And let's get started. So the Isilon, it's not a new product or a new technology. It's been there since 2001. It used to be a company called Isilon, and they started their first cluster in 2003. And their main focus was the media entertainment because they realized that there's a huge, big files in the media entertainment, and it's been treated traditionally with the scale-up architecture, and that comes with the challenges. And the Isilon said, why don't we handle it in a different manner? And how we can have a single volume, single file system, and so on and so forth. Then they showed the huge success, and 2006, they start opening up to different industries and vertical, like the high performance computing, healthcare, oil and gas, and they start addressing those markets into different verticals. And let me highlight what do we mean by vertical. Vertical means that we don't only offer you a hardware, we work in hand with the top leader in that vertical, and we work to them. We take their software or application to the labs, and where we test it with the Isilon platform, and then we come what we call a reference architecture. And that gives you two big advantages. First is that This solution is a confirmed, it will work. There is no doubt that because the two vendors are behind it, support it from day one, and there is anything happen throughout the project, both vendors are behind it from hardware and software. The second thing is that gives us a good idea of sizing, building your infrastructure so we don't oversize or undersize. Around 2010, this is where the both big gigantic companies was EMC and Dell fighting over the Isilon to acquire it. And at that time, EMC won the race and it became EMC Isilon. And then we start doing a huge year-over-year growth, start growing our installed base and customer base. And as we all know, a couple of years back, that joint merge happened between the Dell and EMC. And it was known from day one that this is an emerging high growth business unit. And they just added the whole business unit together around the unstructured data. All right, so a couple of slides about the challenges of the silos and the data lake and how we really help to overcome that from an idle perspective. This could be the norm in the previous data center where we have different systems, different silos for different workloads. And the biggest challenges is that these systems get filled up from data perspective into different speeds. And the standard common factor between those workloads, they are all serving the unstructured data workload. So what the Isilon did basically start to join and bring all this data, the unstructured data together and build what we call the data lake. And it's governed by the multi-protocol, SMB, NFS, HDFS, and so on and so forth that can serve all these different workloads. And this means that you could write a file using a simple FTP protocol. The same file could be accessed by the different workload like a Hadoop through Hadoop or REST and so on, provided that they have the accessibility and the privilege to access that data. So what we call it single source of a truth and so on. But what does that mean for our valued customer? It means that we can offer a single Isilon cluster for a multi-workload, whether it's a home directory file share, it's a security, physical security with the surveillance, analytic based on Hadoop, audit based on Splunk, and so on and so forth. So that what we call modernizing your data center, bring all your unstructured data in one single location with all the multi-protocol, all these different application can run from one single source. And we give the IT the privilege of using a single file system and a single namespace on the Isilon. So what is the Isilon? On a very quick, it's a three main component, 1FS, the file system, the hardware, which is based on a proprietary Dell technology hardware, which we call it a node, and with the back-end connectivity. Until recently, we used to start with the 4 nodes, and we can grow up to 252 nodes in a single volume. And also that gives us the capacity in terms of a couple of terabyte all the way to multiple of petabyte in a single volume. And the node is basically, it consists of a drive, CPU, memory, and connectivity. And this is how the node look like from a hardware perspective. This is only a 4U on the chassis, and then you can build on top of it and include more and more nodes to grow your cluster. So a quick comparison between the scale up and the scale out, which is the traditional 2 controllers, a bunch of drives that traditional scale up architecture could look like, and the scale out architecture based on the Isilon or the PowerScale. So when we start with the controller and 4 nodes, when you add more drives and capacity, you will notice that on the scale up architecture, you will reach a certain threshold where the performance will start get some challenges, and then you will have a degradation in the performance. Where in the Isilon, the scale out, the flow will keep going, because with every node you add, we're not only adding a capacity, we add a compute, memory, and connectivity. Also, RAID, the Isilon does not use a RAID technology, though it's a market or industry standard. We use what we call erasure coding, where we take the file, split it across all the nodes, across all the drives in the one volume cluster. So the data is not protected in one drive, it's across all the nodes or all the drives. Where in the scale up, it's a set of drives based on the volume, blends, and aggregates, and then whichever RAID you would like to implement on top. And as a result of this RAID, you will get those different volumes, which is normal. However, in the Isilon, because we stretch the whole cluster with the capability of the 1FS and the back-end connectivity, we can be able to stretch the whole cluster across all the hardware, and then we can have the multiple from terabytes capacity all the way to multi-petabyte, and talking about 58 petabyte of a single volume that you could have as a drive, and then you can segregate and distribute across different use cases. All right. A couple of challenges. The traditional goes through certain controllers, which create the bottleneck, where the scale out goes through every node is an independent controller, so they can have the flow of data and how they can serve the requirements of the users. And definitely the CapEx versus the OpEx, because what we do, basically, we can start small and we grow as we go. We don't have one size fits all. We have multiple types of drives, and we can really serve depends on whichever use cases the customer would need. And the most important thing is that we can give utilization up to 80% plus of the usable capacity. So if you buy, for example, of a 1 petabyte of a usable capacity, we can guarantee that you can utilize up to 850 terabyte from that usable capacity before you need to grow or expand your cluster, because it's a single volume. We don't have those silos and that wasted capacity between those volumes and LUNs. And not only that, happen that you want to upgrade your cluster, because we split the data across all the nodes. The Isilon cluster always at balance, and this is how it fills up. And needed that happen that you need to upgrade your capacity. All you need to do is call your sales representative from Tuqnia. They will deliver the new hardware. It literally takes 60 seconds to join the cluster, add the hardware. The system will identify the new hardware. It will join the cluster, and then within 60 seconds, you can distribute the extra capacity to the users. And the 1FS will start auto-balancing the pieces of the file across the back-end connectivity with the low priority, so it does not interrupt your system. And this is how we really protect. We don't protect drive, we protect data. So the file will be distributed into pieces of the file across all the drives, across all the nodes. So we can sustain losing drives, nodes, multiple of nodes, where the data is highly available and protected. And with the support of the multi-protocol and the single volume and the 1FS, the analyst says that up to 10 petabyte of a capacity, you will only need a single full-time employee to manage that cluster. Yeah. And no migration. This is a really important factor that we offer with the 1FS, because literally, and let's assume that this is an existing customer site where they have an old hardware and they're due for technology refresh. So all we need to do is that adding the new Isilon node to the cluster, joining the cluster, which will take 60 seconds. The system will auto move the pieces of the file online without interruption, without disturbing the business and going into a downtime. And once we are ready to be removed, and simply removing those nodes and stretch down your cluster from a dimension point of view, because the new node is more dense and it's more of a vertical setup rather than the older nodes on a horizontal setup. All right. Core to cloud, to edge to core to cloud, definitely we apply this model. And when it comes to the data, we believe the data consists into 3 types of data: hot, warm, and cold. And we have different hardware that serves those different types of data. I'm going to explain in a couple of slides. However, the auto tiering offering that comes along with the Isilon and the 1FS helps you to software define which data sits in which type of a drive or a node, whether it's on the all flash for the high performance, or the hybrid for a hybrid workload, or an archival workload like an archive, long-term retention, or a CCTV, and so on. And also we can tier out to the cloud, whether it's a private cloud, a public cloud, or co-hosted cloud with the service provider. All right, definitely the Isilon and the 1FS comes with a lot of data services, the application, and some of them is like the auto balance, the sync IQ, which support us to synchronize between different sites, the cloud tiering, that one I spoke about, this disaster recovery, which is the sync IQ again, smart dedupe, where we can dedupe the data, snapshot IQ and smart lock and so on and so forth. All right. I wanted to just take you through quickly what is the Isilon, what is our offering, and how does it really work. So if you haven't heard it before, you have an idea how does it work. And now I'm going to take you through the PowerScale, the new launch that we announced last month, and what are we really doing with this new launch and with the naming and the offering that we are bringing to the market. So the 1FS, just like the Isilon, it's been there from day one. And we have a lot of milestones through that one file system, starting from announcing the Hadoop file system 2012, supporting the SMB3 2014, Cloud Share, supporting analytics, a big player like Cloudera, expanding the cluster to 252 nodes, and having the multi-cloud strategy with 1FS support in the back end. However, this year we are really bringing and unleashing the power, the potential of the 1FS, and we are unlocking that powerful of the 1FS, just and bringing the 1FS along with our #1 Power Edge server, and this is the birth of the PowerScale. So it's basically bringing the 1FS as a software-defined solution, and the Power Edge server. Today we are working with the specific server, which is the R640, and this is what the new birth of our PowerScale, which we announced last month. So the approach that moving forward, that this PowerScale is built into 3 main pillars: simplicity at scale, any data anywhere, and intelligent insight. And this is what I'm going to speak about: the Cloud IQ and the Data IQ. So we used to have a challenge whenever there is a remote site or remote office and the customer does not have that much of a capacity in those branches. And because the smallest Isilon node at that time used to be an 80 terabyte, so we can grow from there. However, with the new introductory of the PowerScale, we can start as small as a 7 terabyte, and we can just grow and scale to multi-terabyte. No node left behind. Yes, the new PowerScale, it's based in a different hardware. However, we always believe in a single volume, single file system, and no silos. So the PowerScale, whether it's based on the Power Edge servers nodes or based on the Isilon nodes, they can jointly work as a single volume, and they just can add to the cluster, just like how I explained before. Auto balance applies exactly the same way as we have seen it. So the data is automatically balanced within 60 seconds, whether the cluster based on the PowerScale nodes or based on the Isilon nodes, and they just can work seamlessly. Resilient, I think we are second to none, because again, we don't protect drives or nodes, we protect data. And this is a real experience, happened a couple of weeks back with a customer in Saudi, where they had a 10 terabyte on an Isilon for a certain workload, and they were having the highest availability where they can sustain up to 4 node failure. And they had a pandemic, and they lost a big number of servers, of nodes, and there was no impact on their data, no impact onto their operation. And they were really surprised and shocked how this system is running while they are losing around 1 peta or plus of a capacity, and there is no challenges from business perspective. Efficiency, I spoke about that one. We support up to 85% plus of usable utilizing of your effective usable capacity. And with our inline data reduction, which is with the new all flash nodes, we can give up to 2 to 1, so we can even give more than the usable capacity based on the all flash nodes. Definitely there is certain criteria that we have to look into, but definitely it's available and it's there. And the new 1FS supports the next generation of Ansible Kubernetes and the OneShift integration out of the box. So this is the updated offering from the PowerScale family. Whether it's an Isilon node, which is still there, it's going to still continue there. There is no plan to retire them in any near future. Whether it's A for the archival workload, H for the hybrid workload, or F for the all-flash workloads. However, what we announced last month is that adding 2 family members, the F200 and the F600, to cover the entry and mid-range of all-flash and I'm going to explain more about those two specific nodes. And this is based on the PowerEdge servers, and these are the one help us to really penetrate the smaller requirements, definitely without jeopardizing all the nice features from Isilon family. So PowerScale F200, it's a 1U node. It starts from 3 nodes to start the cluster, and it's based on R640 servers from PowerEdge, 4 drives, each one based on all-flash SSDs, and each node can go up to 15 terabyte row. What kind of use case comes across our mind? If you have a remote office, a small office, small and medium studio that requires, they don't have a huge capacity, hospital, clinics, IoT, factory, shop floor, and so on. F600, it's a more of a powerful machine, though it's based on the same PowerEdge R640 node. However, and starting from 3 nodes moving above. However, it's based on the NVMe technology, and it's 8 drives in every node, and we can go up to 61 terabyte per node. And this is mainly for media entertainment, hospital, and those kind of cluster nodes could be on the edge as well as on the core, because they are really powerful machines from the mid-range of an all-flash offering. All right, then any data. We spoke about the multi-protocol, multi-workloads. However, we are adding the S3 to the offering. So, and that's basically to simplify the auto-tiering that we have between the Isilon and to the ECS, from the Isilon to the private or a public cloud based on S3. And if you are in a process of developing a mobile application, you don't have to set up your infrastructure from day one. If you have an Isilon, you just can activate the S3 with the new OneFS 9.0. And from there, you just can simply run the S3 protocol there, develop the application. And once you are ready, you can move it to the dev and development, or even, sorry, to the testing or to the production. You can spin it off in a full-fledged architecture on a Elastic Cloud or a public cloud. All right. Edge, we spoke about this. So whether you have a small office, remote office, a small shop floor, you have a different workloads, IoT signals, CCTV, all these different workloads can work smoothly on an edge device from a PowerScale based on the F200 or maybe even F600. Moving to the core, and whether you want to build your core based on the PowerScale nodes or based on the Isilon nodes, they can seamlessly work together, supported by the OneFS with the multi-protocol. And moving all the way to the cloud, where we have the policy-based tiering and replication to a private cloud, public cloud. And a couple of months back, we have signed an agreement with the Google Cloud Platform, where they have the OneFS offering, which gives you that seamless integration and see the same experience on the Google Cloud Platform. And definitely with the growth of the data, the amount of data, we need to keep 2 things in mind, how we can have insights about our data. So Cloud IQ, this is a single pane of a glass that help us, whether it's the hyper-converged that's presented by Danny, or the different storage types for the structured or the unstructured. They can be monitored on a mobile application. And the beautiful thing that this application is free of charge. So if you don't have it today and you have a Dell architecture, please reach out to your partner, make sure that you download it, you utilize it, and get the best out of it. And when it comes to unstructured data, we are offering what we call Data IQ. And this Data IQ, it's a software, helps you to understand your unstructured data, whether it's on the edge, core, or the cloud. What does that mean? That we can help you to, once you install that instance of Data IQ, you can discover your infrastructure. You understand it, you tag it, index it, and then you can take certain actions based on this type of data. So once you install it, you can identify the data in your infrastructure, whether it's on the PowerScale, on the ECS, on the PowerStore, or the unstructured part, or even on the cloud, or even on a third-party platform if you have it today in your infrastructure. However, this Data IQ is a free of charge for all Dell technology offering, But if you want to use it on a third-party platform, then there will be a licensing charges. And once you identify it, the system will understand it, will identify, tag the unstructured part of the data, and then it will give you the possibility to distribute the data based on the consumption of that data. If the data need to be consumed on the edge, core, or need to be archived to the cloud, and Data IQ will help you to take those actions from one single place on your unstructured data. So to summarize the power scale and the unstructured data offering from Dell Technology, with the OneFS as a backbone of our offering, we can give you all that simplicity at scale, starting from as simple as a 7 terabyte all the way to petabyte, different types of nodes, whether it's based on the Power Edge node or based on the archive, hybrid, or all flash nodes. And then we can have the data, whether it's on the edge, on the core, or the cloud, and definitely governed by our insights from data, whether it's a Data IQ or Cloud IQ. Sorry if I was rushing through the slides, but I wanted to make sure that I close on time on the standard slides. If I have a couple of minutes, I would like to highlight a couple of use cases and where we can find those workloads. Mark, do I have a couple of more minutes?
Got a couple of minutes. Work away, mate.
All right, thanks, Mark. Thank you very much. All right, so vertical and use cases. I asked this question when we are preparing for this session, what kind of verticals, but I know that we are coming from different verticals. So let me take you through the different workloads and where we can find those unstructured data. Because unless we really identify what is the pain, then this is where we can solve and help to support this kind of challenges. So in the normal IT infrastructure, there is the standard enterprise workloads, file share, VDI user files. I have a slide about that architecture, surveillance, sync and share kind of workload, and so on and so forth. What if we are dealing we are a government organization? So definitely file share, surveillance and security, collaboration is always going to be there. However, there is other things, and we see all the government going to the mobile apps and all these kind of citizen services, analytics, IoT of data, all this is unstructured. You could have some billing, you could have some fleet management, and so on and so forth. Moving to the education, people would say education, not much. If I'm in university or a higher education, on top of your standard student management system, there is a lot of attachment and document management around the certificate, the IDs, the passport, and all this is our unstructured data. And if we take a decision to attach it inside our database and having it within our structured, then that adds a lot of complexity managing that student management system. However, there could be kind of a healthcare university, and there is some hospital attached to it. There could be like a digital content, visualizing labs, digital labs, and so on. Going to surveillance and security, it's no longer just a CCTV. It's much more than that. There is a lot around that when it comes to the different types of cameras, the fixed cameras, the thermal cameras, the drones, the evidence around any situations, the body-worn cameras. If I go to the police, if I am part of a governmental and municipality, there is a lot that the audios, those the IVRs are unstructured. This is a recorded message for security and quality purposes. This is unstructured data, and so on and so forth. Financial organization, if I'm a bank or a finance institute, there is a lot around the unstructured when it comes to traditional architecture. However, there is a lot of SQL dumps which end up as an unstructured, the VDI user file, the CVRs or IVRs, mobile application, the Splunk for analytics and audit purposes. And the beautiful things from Dell Technology, we can offer you the full stack from architecture, compute, storage, as well as the software. Healthcare, all the packs, radiologies, pathologies, all this genome sequencing, all this is unstructured data. If I'm an oil and gas organization, all this is seismic data in the upstream, downstreams, we have a say there and we have a solution. And sometimes you get to big player like the Halliburton, the Schlumberger, and they offer you end-to-end solution with an appliance. However, underneath the bonnet, they will find an Isilon box and we are the best to know how to help you, and we work with those vendors, so we can also support it if it's a locally here in the country. Analytics, one of the pillar that Vichy spoke about, and we support all these multi-flavor of analytics vendors because of our Hadoop offering and so on, and we have the certification. Splunk, whether it's a cold or a frozen data, Isilon plays a big role along with our hyper-converged offering from Dell Technology. And VDI, normally, and everybody going virtual nowadays, so along with the architecture of the VDI, we can just simply spin off all the data user files into an Isilon. And it used to be a challenge because the capacity started point was 80 terabyte. Today, with the power scale starting at 7, it's regardless of what kind of number of users, you just simply spin off their unstructured data, their user files, and then we can store them on an Isilon. Last but not least, I want to conclude with the AI and artificial intelligence. We work with the big players in the market, and one of which is the NVIDIA, which is the leader there. And you can buy the offering from Dell Technology, whether it's a standalone Isilon for the all flash. If you really know what you want to do on this side of the different types of analytics and application layer and frameworks, or we can have it based on a ready solution from Dell and our Power 8 servers with the GPUs, and we have a reference architecture ready for there, or along with the NVIDIA servers, and also we have a reference architecture and tested solution with them, where we can offer you the full suite and make you ready from day one for your analytics. I believe that was it from my side. Apologies if I took longer than my time. Back to you, Mark, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Louis. Again, like Abraham and Danny, the standard of presentations and the level of detail has been superb by you all. So I'm guessing that you guys have definitely been doing a lot of these presentations during lockdown, because it appears that isn't your first rodeo. So great job from all you guys. Look, a few things jumped off the page at me during your presentation, and one of them was that 80% of data is unstructured. I was really surprised at how high that was. Now, you talked a lot about the Isilon PowerScale and ECS, and disclosed that it was the market leader according to Gartner, which is a fantastic, incredible illustration over the last 4 years of its capabilities. And in your presentation, you went into forensic detail in terms of what it can offer. So I know it's difficult to pinpoint one aspect of what really differentiates that solution, but I'm gonna put that question to you here now, and give you an opportunity to summarize. So if I was a customer, why would I use the Isilon PowerScale?
Very good. Thank you for that great question, Mark, because we believe it's not about a capacity, it's about the use case and the workloads. So first question we need to ask, what kind of workload, what kind of a use case we are? And if it's unstructured, trust me, we are the best when we handle that unstructured, because 80%, yes, it's a shocking news. And some organization and some people on the call would say, no, could be Google, could be a YouTube. But if you really, and we are here to help you, and we run analysis, and we really can identify the amount of the unstructured. It might be not 80, it could be 70, 65, 75, depends on the organization. But in reality, there is a huge amount of unstructured. And handling it in the traditional scale-up architecture adds a lot of complexity. And with the growth of the data, as we are seeing in the coming years, and the challenge of the budget limitation and so on, and that puts more pressure on us. So why we go with the unstructured? Because whether it's a file, object, all the way to the cloud, regardless of the capacity, edge, core, or a cloud, we can really synergize and work smoothly along with the different architecture like the hyper-converged Danny presented, and all the cloud offering that Ibrahim presented. So we really offer you the end-to-end. But again, the question is that if the workload is unstructured, please reach out to us and we will show you the value added, and we can monetize it, not only from technical features, we can show you the TCO and how you can get the best within the coming 3 years as a TCO.
Yeah, and so you're removing the complexities as well for the customers as well, because I mean, that is obviously a huge challenge, and I think skill sets as well, and having the organizations having the skills to manage that data is critical as well, and that's what you guys do.
100%, definitely simplicity, single volume. This is all within the orchestrator of the one file system, and this is really the power. So we believe we are a software defined. The hardware is becoming commodity today, and we are moving to the Power Edge, which is one of our #1 servers. But the trick is within the OneFS and how that can integrate and simplify the whole orchestrating the infrastructure.
Fantastic. Well, I can see why you guys have been, the market leader for the last 4 years, and I'm sure you're going to continue to sustain yourselves at that level. Look, thanks a million, Louis, for your presentation again. Great presentation. And that concludes our session, guys. It's been a fantastic webinar, and I just want to on behalf of CPI Media Group, I want to thank every one of our speakers for delivering, as I said earlier, superb presentations. I want to thank all our attendees who participated. We appreciate you guys are all very busy, so to take time out of your schedule and listen to the guys, we appreciate it. But I'm sure you got a lot of value out of everything that Danny, Ibrahim, and Louis spoke about. And obviously we had the introduction from Tuqnia earlier as well. So that's enough for me. And I just want to thank, as I said, everyone for joining. And I hope the session was valuable. Reach out to the guys if you've got additional questions that you want to ask that you didn't ask during the session, and we'll put you in contact with the right people. So thanks a million, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good week. And as I said, from me, that's enough for me now. And thanks a million. Cheers, guys.
Thank you very much. Bye.